Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson, this is Full Time Devils, this is Manchester United versus Leicester preview, and today I am joined by my old mucker, my old pal John Shin from New York. How's it going, brother? And we've got a very special guest today. This is work shadowing Yassir. Work shadowing, what is work shadowing? Well, it's like work experience, but we can't say work experience because that is illegal. Yassir's been work shadowing producer Chris, around for Full Time Devils, and if you're interested in being work shadowing, not work experience, because that is illegal, then hit fulltimedevils@gmail.com, and if you live in and around Manchester, maybe you could come make brews for us. Anyway, let's get stuck straight into what we're going to be talking about today, and that is Manchester United versus Leicester, and the first thing that we are going to talk about today, gentlemen, is the expectation. We've won 4-0 back-to-back, 2 games opening of the season. Are the expectations for Manchester United too damn high? Are people going to be disappointed if we don't win 4-0 again on Saturday? I got you first, Yassir.
Yeah, I think it's been said before. Like, these are the games we've been struggling in lately. And these are the games we used to smash teams in under, Fergie. And I think, I wouldn't get too carried away, but it's definitely a sign of improvement from last season, just in terms of being more clinical. And I think the thing that sticks out the most to me is what Lukaku has brought to this team. I think going forward, it's not only his goals. He's making space for other players to score. In the latter stages especially, it's kind of a bit more obvious. But I think he's just an overall nuisance to defend against. And I think that showed in the 2 games, against Swansea especially, who, even though at times it didn't seem like we were going to score, we did get that second in the end, thanks to him. And even if they didn't switch that system up, I think we were going to get that second. Maybe not the third and the fourth, but yeah. Look, these are the games you can't really afford to be dropping points in. And I think if you want to challenge for the league, you have to win them. And they also help you build a momentum and a winning mentality. Especially in the kind of the dominant fashion that we do, just like the big teams in Europe do as well. And I think, yeah, you shouldn't get too carried away, but you couldn't really ask for a better start to the season. You've got 2 clean sheets, 8 goals, and my fantasy football is looking pretty good as well, thanks to Pogba and Lukaku.
John, we didn't expect to be talking about this so early in the season, but does people's excitement get justified on the back of those 2 performances? Do you think that it can all come crashing down again this weekend? Where do you think the expectations are? Are we right to be excited about what we're seeing, or do you think people are just getting carried away because we've had to live with dour football for the last few seasons?
Well, the expectations are definitely justified. I mean, to see Manchester United score 4-0 in 2 games in a row from your opener straight ahead consecutively, that's something to be excited for, 110%. I think, if I'm not mistaken, last season we've only had 1 game where we scored 4-0, and we've just started the season with 2 back-to-back 4-0 wins. So there's every reason to be excited and looking positive ahead at the times. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we're not getting too ahead of ourselves. And I feel like we're always on here, every preview show, every live show that we do, we seem to be like a moderator of common sense in a way. It's only the 2nd game, and we need to make sure that we not only do not add unnecessary pressure, especially with the media and all that other jazz, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we're not getting too ahead of ourselves. We're not going to score 4-0 every single damn game. It's just not happening. With that being said, the quality that we've displayed against West Ham and Swansea respectively, I think it was fantastic. I think the amount of attacking possession that we had, the amount of flair, the intensity that we've upped from last season is absolutely fantastic. And who wouldn't be excited as a fan, especially against some of the drab performances from last season? Looking at it this season already, just to see the likes of Pogba, Lukaku, even Mkhitaryan, to see these guys dismantling defenses, a problem which we had last season, which we could not do when 11 men were sitting deep behind the ball. It's just exciting, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, we need to keep our heads under control.
It wasn't the defeats that cost us the league last season. Obviously, it skewed where we finished because we essentially phoned the league in for the last couple of games to really focus on the Europa League, and I think opposition fans are really forgetting that. But we didn't lose a lot. We went unbeaten for a significant portion of the last season, but it was the draws that really affected us. So to see us absolutely bitch slapping the teams that we did draw against last season, that for me is the improvement that we wanted to see and that we are seeing. Yes, we can't really get carried away, and if we do that to a title contender, then yes, it's time to get excited. It's time to start thinking about what we're going to be doing at the back end of May. But for now, yeah, of course, we're just happy as fans that we are doing the things that we expect Manchester United to be doing. The next thing that we're going to talk about then is Luke Shaw. Monday night we saw him feature against Swansea. Him and Ashley Young both featured for about an hour. They both looked all right. I'm not going to say that they looked fantastic because they didn't. They looked all right. They looked like players returning from injury. Luke Shaw's had a long time out. Do you think, I'm going to come back to you in this one, John, do you think Jose Mourinho has left signing somebody at left back because he thinks Luke Shaw can come and do that job? Where do you stand on this?
100% agree. I think the reason why he didn't pursue a left back, because I'm sure if he had the opportunity, I'm sure if he had the luxury of doing so, he definitely would have. But there's priorities and there's a budget and there's a transfer policy, and I'm sure he prioritized that the least, and I think that has to do with in part because of his faith in Luke Shaw, and he's got the quality, hands down. It's just the string of bad, unlucky injuries, and we don't want to be rushing him in and sort of leaving himself open and exposed for another injury. So I don't think Luke Shaw will slot right back in against this game. Jose's definitely going to want to ease him into the squad. He knows how long he's been out, so definitely not this game. Maybe perhaps the next game or the one after. But I'd like to see him back as soon as possible. He provides that quality of not only attack but that defensive solidarity on that left-hand side. So Luke Shaw, we just got to give him time and let him ease himself back in.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get 5 minutes, but I would be surprised to see him start this game, I think, definitely. Yes. Do you think he can dislodge Blind? Do you think there's any chance of that? And do you agree with what most of the consensus of United fans is, that left side is probably our weakest side at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I've seen a few games where teams have just kind of attacked that left side, especially when we've had Blind there. And, he's not the most solid left back. It is one of his positions that he can play, but I think, Mourinho would favour a faster left back who can also go forward, especially if he decides to go with a 3-5-2. I think he can definitely get that spot. It is his spot. It's just with him, obviously, it is staying fit, which is his main issue. For me personally, I'd start him as soon as he's fit because I do rate him. But you just know that's kind of not really going to happen under Mourinho. I think he brings more pace to the team than it already has, and more width, which we are kind of lacking. All our width comes from Valencia, really, and we've got wingers who aren't really wingers. They like to come inside.
I agree.
And I
think we've got to provide a little bit of width from fullback. I thought it must be orders, because it seemed like both the fullbacks sort of stopped at a certain area of the pitch and didn't really want to progress. That might be in us trying to protect ourselves against the counter-attack of Ayew or Tammy Abraham last week. But at home against Leicester, a team that plays 4-4-2, a team that's going to go for you, I think they leave gaps at the back. I think that they also pose a little bit of a threat going forward. How do you expect to see United line up this week? Do you expect to see attacking fullbacks, or do you think it might be maybe 50-50 or totally looking at the counter of the likes of Vardy and all them can offer us this week?
I think we go with the same kind of system. I think our width just comes from Valencia. I don't think we have the wingers that will go wide. I know Martial can do it, but I still think he prefers to come inside and have a shot or look to link up with a striker or something. I think we will be wary of that counter. It is Leicester's best asset with their speed, definitely.
John, we're looking at Luke Shaw here, and we're looking at Jose Mourinho, a player and a manager that that doesn't really seem to offer a lot of patience to players. If you've got one criticism of Jose Mourinho, surely it's the fact that he can often close the door on a player pretty quick. He doesn't seem to offer chance after chance after chance. Where do you think Luke Shaw stands in this? And do you think there's going to be a lot more chances for him, or do you think Jose rates him and is going to do what needs to be done to bring him back at full fitness?
That's a fantastic question, because Jose Mourinho has been known in the past to be notorious with respect to chances and youth. So Luke Shaw kind of doesn't sit well on both aspects. If you look at his previous seasons in other clubs, for example, the most latest before his Manchester United tenureship, like in Chelsea, his rotation in terms of his squad, especially when he won that league right after that first season, he rarely rotates his squad and he rarely changes his starting 11. And I'm going to touch base on that later, but that's already clearly evidence of a sign that he doesn't really like to give chances. I mean, if so, he gives the few chances and he expects people to take it, and he expects real top quality to take these chances. And I think that's Jose Mourinho's sort of consensus behind how he makes these decisions. Now, with that being said, I think it's a bit different of a Jose Mourinho now. He's definitely changed. He's not. He seems to be a different sort of mode, Jose Mourinho. I think the sort of style, the tactics, he might handle the media in the same manner, but with respect to the playing style, the sort of the player development standards, I think it's changed, and I think we can see that in the way, especially he treats Luke Shaw. I think he does believe in Luke Shaw. I'm not sitting here saying if Luke Shaw blows this game and he blows another chance after, and then another chance after that, Jose Mourinho is going to still sort of pamper and be like, Luke, you got it. I trust in you. I don't think he's going to be like that. But I think he definitely does still provide. He still wants to trust Luke Shaw, and I think he still believes he's got a full chance at it.
All right, we are going to go to the starting 11s in a second, but before we do that, there's going to be a little break for everybody, maybe. All right, did you see it? Did you not see it? There you go. Go and buy some of that stuff anyway. All right, starting 11s. Yassir, I'm going to come to you first on this one. Give us your system and your 11 for this week's 4-0 victory over Leicester.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with a 4-2-3-1 with De Gea starting in goal, of course. I think we go with that because we are watching for that counter, and I think, Leicester are more dangerous than both Swansea and West Ham, I think, and they've been on good form. They beat Brighton, and I think they won 4-1 against Sheffield United, I think, the other day. And they did put 3 past Arsenal, so, they have got goals in them. I've got an unchanged back 4, I think, of Valencia, Bailey, Jones and Blind. They've been solid so far. Blind's been a little bit shaky at times, but I think Mourinho trusts him to do a job. Jones as well has looked more confident. I know it's only West Ham and Swansea, but, they didn't really offer much. But he's done well, I think. He goes with 2 holding midfielders in Herrera and Matic. I think he's going to be aware of Leicester's threat on the counter-attack with their pace, and he will need that extra energy from Herrera. And I also think Okazaki is someone who seems to nick a goal in games every now and then out of nothing. So I think that added protection will help. In front of those 2, I think he goes with Pogba centrally as an attacking midfielder. He puts Mkhitaryan on the right and Martial on the left. We've kind of seen that happen towards the end of those last 2 games that we played, and that's kind of where most of our goals have come from. And I think Martial's done enough to warrant a start. I do love Rashford, but you can't really tell Martial he can't start after 2 goals on the trot. And I think up front, Lukaku will cause problems for Leicester, so we will go for him. And I think he'll link up well with Pogba. And I also think this formation lets us be defensive when we need to be, but there's enough creativity in there. Even our holding midfielders, Herrera's just as comfortable going forward. And Matic is a better footballer than people give him credit for. And he does that thing that Carrick used to do in his prime where he doesn't pass it sideways. He passes it forward and forces you to do something with it. So yeah, that's my system and my players.
All right, cool. John, do you want to give us your system and your 11?
When in the preview against Swansea, I wanted Martial to start, I didn't want Martial to start as a means of pushing Rashford out. By no means necessary. I think starting a game versus finishing a game is completely different, and I think Martial, if anything, Rashford deserves a little bit more respect in that regard because he works so hard. He contributes defensively, offensively on all levels, and he does all the works. He tires out that left hand side. He dismantles that left hand side. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna go the same team that started against Swansea. So I got David De Gea in goal. I got a back 4 of Antonio Valencia, Eric Bailly, Phil Jones, and Daley Blind with Matic, Pogba in the middle. Mkhitaryan coming down to number 10 with Rashford and Mata on the flanks and Lukaku up front.
Thank you. Go on, as you were saying.
As I was saying, when you saw against Swansea, I wanted Martial to start because I thought we needed a little bit more penetration. But Rashford isn't that different in terms of his style. They're both sort of composite strikers that likes to come down the middle, and we needed to dismantle that Swansea side through the flanks. And we came too much towards the middle. I think we try to break opposition down through the middle way too many times. And I think we should not be doing that against Leicester. I think they're going to leave a little bit more gaps. They're going to be a little bit more exposed in that midfield. Perhaps maybe Herrera might be a better shout here. But at the same time, I really want us to sort of break down this team on all sides, not just through the middle, but through the flanks as well. And I think we can dismantle Leicester City.
I like with excuse me, I'll start that again. I like with what both of you have. Oh my God, that's not even English, is it? I like what both of you have done there in terms of the starting 11 and the systems that he's going for. I still want to see a three-man midfield from United, though. So I would like to see a 4-3-3. Matic, Herrera, Pogba. They're probably going to play 4-2-2, possibly a 4-5-1 with Okazaki dropping in a little bit. And I just want to see us dominate that midfield a little bit and control the game. And I think a three-man midfield, Herrera, Pogba, Matic, could really do that and give us the platform to push on. I agree with the comments about Martial being given the opportunity to start. I also think that there's something in the way Rashford starts the games. And yes, his end product isn't on the level as Martial, but I think he's bringing something else to the table in the game as well. Yes, talk to me about Leicester. What should we be looking out for? Who are their major threats?
I think it's pretty obvious with Leicester. It's Vardy and Mahrez, isn't it? They start the counter attacks and they tend to finish them most of the time. But for me, I also think I've said this previously, but Okazaki, he seems to nick a goal in, when you just don't expect it. In every now and then, he'll pop up for a header from a corner, from a set piece. He'll get a tap in. I think that's a big threat. But yeah, it is their speed, and it is Vardy and Mahrez, definitely.
I would agree on that. John, anything different on that?
I actually saw Leicester City a little bit differently. I thought I took some time to review just maybe highlights and a bit of coverage against especially Sheffield and Brighton, and they weren't obviously against the greatest of opposition, and I didn't really see much threat from Sheffield especially, but there was a good transitional play, especially the link up between Okazaki Shinji and the rest of the squad. And I'm not sure if Slimani's going to stay. I'm not sure if Vardy's going to stay. They've been linked with respectively with Roma and other clubs, etc. But Okazaki has been crucial in that attack, and everybody's been sort of shouting Vardy, Mahrez, Musa at times. But I think Okazaki and his link-up play, especially with these front players and the forward players, is what needs to be locked down. Once we lock somebody like Okazaki, we should be able to see a bit of an isolation. And I think that frustration is going to sort of want to push Okazaki deeper, hence leaving the forward players a bit isolated. And I think that's the way to go.
Defensively, last season and the season before, the season they won the title, they was really reliant on the likes of Wes Morgan and Huth as a real rock-solid, experienced, dirty, nasty, proper defensive partnership. That's not played yet this season. I'm not sure if Huth's injured or what the crack is with him. Wes Morgan hasn't looked anything like himself, and they're playing a young lad who actually looks pretty decent, which is Harry Maguire? Is it Harry or Henry? Maguire, I think it is anyway, who looks all right, but Wes Morgan looks well off the pace. I fancy Lukaku to have a real good run at both of those, and I think they're going to be a real issue for them to deal with the quality that Lukaku's doing, and especially at Old Trafford. I think he's really settling in and really taking to Manchester United really well, and I'm excited to see how he starts treating Old Trafford, where he's already started scoring a couple of goals, and how he goes on. I mean, would anyone bet against another 4-0 this weekend? Would you think about a 4-0? Before we get into that anyway, I am going to look at some of your comments. We've got Paul Lucas that says, there's not too many true wingers in the game anymore. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I think there's also a fashionability for inverted forwards, which has sort of made those who were a true winger play on the opposite side and start coming in a little bit more as well. Anub says, Martial is better than Rashford. I think people, in terms of the quality, we're not going to disagree with you, but I think Rashford offers you something different, which I think Jose Mourinho quite clearly likes, hence why he played more games than any player for United last season. Amir says, this year is the last chance for Luke Shaw. Again, I think we agree on that one, don't we? That Luke Shaw's probably, if he's not able to get back in the team this year, or if he gets injured again, you're looking at almost 3 years out. I mean, it's a shame for the lad's career, but yeah, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you. And Mahid says, Martial to start this week. Well, if you're a player and you've been putting in the kind of performances and a goal every 11 minutes, I think he's contributed with the goals and assists he's had so far this season. I think if you're a player, you want to see good play rewarded like that, and I think everybody in the team would get a lift. Those in the team and those out of the team, if they see someone who's playing in form and played their way into the 11, given the opportunity to be in the 11, I think that makes everyone feel like there's, like a bit of a level playing field for everybody, don't they? Right, score predictions. Let's go with you first, John. What do you reckon, my mate?
I'm going to go 3-0. I don't think we'll score 4, but I think we have the quality to score 3 this game.
I like it. Confident. Another 3 points. Yassir, what do you reckon, mate?
I'm going to go with 3-1. I think Lukaku gets 2, Mkhitaryan's owed a goal, and I think they score from a set piece.
I don't want to predict us conceding. I'm loving this run that we're going on. Head to head with West Brom over clean sheets and 3 points. Kind of. I'm going to say 2-0 United. I'm going to say it's going to be a little bit more of a test for us. I think Jose's going to be a little bit more wary of the counter-attacking threat that they offer. But a solid 2-0 victory for Manchester United. And we stay top of the league, and it'll be 35 to go. And then, hopefully we get to the stage where it's only 10 games to go and we're still top of the league and everyone's all last seven. Right, go give these guys a follow on social media. Ask Yassir if you'll get the bruise in. And we'll see you later. Nice one.